listener production.
From the briefing team,
This is The Beefing.
Hey, it's Alexandria Fennell here and welcome back to The Beefing. Britney Spears and Kevin Federline were once pop culture royalty. She was the princess of pop at the height of her fame, and he was her backup dancer turned husband. It was a bit odd in a rags to riches love story that completely captivated the world. For a while, they were everywhere. Red carpets, magazine covers, reality TV, interviews with Ellen. The relationship was chaotic, messy, but also magnetic. They loved each other. But just as fast as it began, it unravelled in spectacular fashion. Nearly 2 decades after their whirlwind 2004 marriage and their very public, messy 2007 divorce, the pair are now back in the headlines. This time it's for a new chapter in their long-running beef, and it's being written, literally. K-Fed has just dropped his memoir, You Thought You Knew, 2 years after Britney's explosive bestseller, The Woman in Me. If Britney's book told the story of her escape from control, Kevin's tells a very, very different tale. One that's reignited old wounds, divided fans online, and sparked one big question. Is this tell-all really about the importance of sharing his truth, or is it just about money? Maybe a bit of both. When Britney released her memoir, The Woman in Me, in 2023, just 2 years after the end of her conservatorship, the world finally heard her story, unfiltered and in her own words. For years, Britney had barely spoken publicly. No interviews, no documentaries, no real access to the outside world. Every statement about her life had come from someone else. Her father, her team, the tabloids, even the fans spoke on behalf of Britney.
Leave Britney alone!
So when she was finally able to tell her own story, it was seismic. After more than a decade of silence, Britney's voice cut through. It was raw, emotional, and unfiltered. She opened up about the realities of fame, the pain of her 13-year conservatorship, her struggle with postpartum depression after the birth of her sons. She even covered a painful at-home abortion in her teens to Justin Timberlake, and also, of course, losing custody of her kids. She also spoke of the years of abuse and control she endured under her father's watch. It was raw, and for so many, it was vindicating. It was the voice fans had been fighting to hear throughout the entire Free Britney movement. Meanwhile, Kevin Federline, her ex-husband and the father of her 2 sons, had mostly stayed quiet throughout it all. We never really heard from him. Until now, because in October 2025, Kevin finally decided it was his turn to talk. His memoir, You Thought You Knew, was billed as his side of the story, a father's truth about what really happened behind closed doors. And just like that, whatever peace may have existed between them, it shattered all over again. But honestly, why, after all these years of silence, is now the time to bring it all up and tell all? Hasn't Britney been through enough? Kevin swears this isn't a cash grab, but the timing has definitely raised some eyebrows because his child support payments, roughly $40,000 a month, far out, had just recently ended when their youngest son, Jaden, turned 18.
I'd be lying if I said that I didn't want this book to be successful. I wish I sell 1 million books or more or whatever. Money's not at the root of this story. It never has been. So for me, I'm doing this now. I wanted to make sure that my children were old enough to understand what I'm doing. Everything has always been about my family. And that's what people don't really realize, is that every step that I've taken has been for the benefit of my children.
In the book, Kevin paints a dark and disturbing picture of life with Britney. He claims she used cocaine, drank while pregnant, and even tried to breastfeed after using drugs. He said that was the first silent alarm. He details what he says were dangerous moments inside their home, including their sons allegedly waking up to find Britney standing silently in the doorway holding a knife. He recalls a drunken 4 a.m. call from Britney, Paris Hilton and Lindsay Lohan, what a trio, while the kids were crying in the background, and he calls that the final straw. but he does also cover the infamous 2008 bathroom incident where Britney locked herself inside with her son Jaden, the moment that supposedly led to her involuntary hospitalization and the start of her conservatorship. Now, during this time, Kevin says he supported the conservatorship, claiming it created a safer environment for the kids. And he says that now history is repeating herself, with Britney once again going off the rails.
I kind of have to sound the alarm that I truly feel that somehow, some way, I just wish that their mom would get help. I've tried to help my sons build a relationship with their mother, and I pray to God every day that she gets the help that she needs or wakes up and realizes that you have two sons right there in front of you that are screaming for a life with you, the same that they have with the rest of their family.
Britney, for her part, has completely refuted all of Kevin's claims. She insists the conservatorship did not protect her, it destroyed her. She says it robbed her of her freedom, her choices, and her identity, controlling everything from her finances to her body, even down to what she ate and who she could see. In The Woman in Me, Britney explains that the beginning of her struggles wasn't wild behaviour and irresponsibility. It was postpartum depression, something she says was misunderstood, dismissed, and ultimately used against her. And looking back now, that makes perfect sense through a modern lens. A young mother under extreme pressure, without support, being pushed to breaking point, whilst being the most famous woman in the world. She's also gone on and described in graphic, heartbreaking detail in a raw voice memo that was used in her court case to finally end the conservatorship.
I was kind of like in this conspiracy thing of people claiming and like treating me like a superstar, but yet they treated me like nothing.
In it, Britney speaks about the trauma of being silenced, controlled, saying she felt like a shadow of a person, and claimed that those who were supposed to help her are the very people that hurt her most.
My biggest fear was, what would my dad do if I did do something wrong? What if I left the country? And what if they found me? And what would they do? And I said, I feel like they would lock me up or something or really hurt me. And she looked at me and she said, "Are you kidding me, Britney? Your dad would never do that to you." And I didn't even do anything wrong, and he still did it.
But despite Britney's obvious pain, Kevin's comments about his ex-wife haven't just stopped at the book. He's been doing multiple interviews, doubling down on his claims about Britney, saying he cares. In one interview, he alleged that his sons chose to distance themselves from their mother because of what they saw. Britney has publicly fired back, accusing Kevin of gaslighting her and profiting from her pain. She wrote, "The constant gaslighting from my ex-husband is extremely hurtful and exhausting. I have always pleaded and screamed to have a life with my boys. Relationships with teenage boys is complex. I have felt demoralized by this situation and have always asked and almost begged for them to be a part of my life." A representative for Britney has later defended her, saying that the renewed attention around Kevin's book has once again forced the singer into an uncomfortable and unnecessary spotlight. The rep emphasised that Britney remains focused on her children and their well-being, despite the constant media circus surrounding her. Aww. But when the excerpts from Kevin's book first dropped, Britney's team doubled down and called it another claim to profit off her name, especially now that the child support checks have stopped. Britney also took to her much scrutinised and kind of weird Instagram with a furious response. She said, once again, he's gaslighting me, saying the lies are going straight to the bank. She revealed some heartbreaking details about her relationship with her son, saying one son has only seen her for 45 minutes in 5 years and the other just 4 times. "I have pride too," she wrote. "They need to take some responsibility for themselves." Fans, as always, have rallied behind Britney, flooding Kevin's socials with snake emojis, calling it "Free Britney the sequel." Britney has called this pure opportunism. K-Fed calls it closure, claiming he finally spoke up because his sons are now adults, so he can tell his truth without hurting them. Britney's camp still sees it differently, as an attempt to control the narrative one last time after losing legal and financial control years ago. But then, of course, Jamie Lynn Spears, Britney's younger sister has been dragged back into the chaos. We could do a whole other beefing on her via alleged text messages that Kevin included in his book. In them, she thanks Kevin and his wife Victoria for raising Britney's children, and she says she worries for the boys. It adds another layer to the very, very messy Spears family civil war. A family that's been divided by the conservatorship and kind of torn apart by money. And now by competing memoirs. Kevin argues he's the stable one who saved their kids from chaos. Britney insists she's a survivor who's reclaimed her life after years of control. She says she's fine. And lurking in the background, as always, is the Free Britney movement, the very campaign that helped end the conservatorship. But Kevin reframes this movement. He says it's naive, claiming her freedom actually has made things worse. So I don't know. What's next? Britney's team has hinted at possible legal action, and Kevin's book tour is only just heating up. He doesn't look like he's going to stop talking. But with both sons now adults, they might finally speak for themselves. I would love to hear from them. Maybe they'll still choose silence. But at the heart of this beef, it isn't really just fame and fortune. It's really who gets to tell the story of Britney Spears and who should profit from it. I don't know. What do you think? That's all for today's beefing. If you liked this episode, we'd love you to share it with somebody else who you think might enjoy it. It's a really easy way you can support everything we do here at The Briefing. And you can check us out on Insta, The Briefing Podcast, or on YouTube. I'm Alexandria Fennell. Catch you next time.